Welcome to the 85th Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic Head Coaches News Conference featuring Dan Mullen, head coach of the number 7 Florida Gators, and Lincoln Riley, head coach of the number 6 Oklahoma Sooners. I'm Scotty Rogers, Director of Communications for the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, and I'll be your faceless moderator for today's media session. We will begin with an opening statement from each coach before going to questions. Please use the raise hand function to indicate you want to ask a question. When you're called on for your question, please state your name and affiliation, if I don't say it, and which coach you're directing your question before asking the question. Now for the opening statements from our coaches. Coach Riley, would you please go first? And then Coach Mullen, would you please follow? Go ahead, Coach.
All right, thank you, Scotty. We're very excited to get down to Arlington and come play in the Cotton Bowl. It's been a great lead up for our guys. I think they all appreciated the opportunity to take a quick break and get home and see their families for Christmas. And then I think they were all excited to get back and begin preparations to play a great Florida team. So I've been excited about the way our guys have handled this. And I think they understand the opportunity that playing in the Cotton Bowl presents. And not only that, but an opportunity to close out a strong season and a team that's really enjoyed playing this game together, especially in this year, and the fact that we get one more chance to do it is very much appreciated by, I know, our staff, our players, everybody. And so I want to thank the Cotton Bowl for all they've done in a very tough year to still be able to put on such a high quality bowl, first class as always, even though this year has been so different. So I want to thank everybody at the Cotton Bowl for all their hard work in making this happen, and certainly look forward to the game tomorrow night.
I want to thank the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. The experience of what makes bowl games, so special. The opportunity to come and experience a different city, a different location, experience and see things you never got to see. And I know this year being very unique, being shortened. But I'll tell you what, what was really special to me is getting here yesterday. And even here at the hotel, the hospitality, the game room that's set up for the players. And last night to see all of those guys, it's been such a difficult year, and there's so much has happened this year. But to just see all of our guys with smiles on their face, enjoying, an unbelievable hospitality set up here by the people at the Cotton Bowl, and to see what that does and how that brings the team together, and the smiles and the joy that it puts on these young guys' faces. My wife was telling me last night, and you forget, I know we watch these guys perform week in and week out. On the main stage on national television, you forget these are young college kids, and to see them just come together, enjoy and have such a great time with all the smiles, all the laughs that seems to in a lot of the world have been missing this year, so I think that is so special, and I'm thankful. I know we're excited to be here, excited for the game. I know our guys are thrilled right now to go. Over to AT&T Stadium to see that and experience that for the walkthrough today, and just to enjoy all experiences around the Cotton Bowl, and then get to obviously go compete against one of the top programs in the country in Oklahoma.
All right, coaches, we'll get started with questions. Our first question will come from Edgar Thompson for the Orlando Sentinel. Edgar, go ahead with your question.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yep.
I'm getting muted, unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Sorry, guys. I didn't be batting lead off. I had a big picture question for both you guys. Dan, if you could speak first, though, because I know the season wraps up tomorrow, obviously. And I'm just wondering, given the challenges going forward for coaches created by the transfer rules, athlete compensation changes, these matters, does that make the NFL more appealing to top coaches? And is that a move either of you guys would ever consider?
I don't know more appealing, less appealing in anything with it. I think college football, to start with college football, I think with everything going on, college football as we know it will be very different over the next several years. It'll be a very, and I don't want to say it's going to be better, worse. That it'll just be different than a lot of what college football is used to, and the world is ever changing. And so I think that part of it, of everything changing in college football, will just mean it'll be very different moving forward as it pertains to coaches and the going and within the NFL. I'm sure coaches. It's not something I've thought about, but I mean, if it's something as opportunities present themselves, like everything in the world, you take things as they come and you visit them and you sit down and reflect where you're at in your life. Very much like we have a lot of players that are deciding to move on to the NFL. I meet with those guys and say, make sure you make great decisions, reflect upon what's best for you in your life and your situation and where you're at, and you make a decision that's best for you and your family in everything.
Our next question is going to come from Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports.
Lincoln,
Dennis, go.
that last one right there somehow.
By the way, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Scotty. For both coaches, there's a reason the wishbone isn't run anymore. The veer isn't run anymore. How much do you worry or prepare or self-scout on people, quote unquote, catching up to the spread or RPOs or everything else, or is that here to stay? Is that because you two guys are in the vanguard of that?
I'll let Lincoln go first this time. I went first last time.
All right.
I mean, that's part of the fun in football. I mean, the trends schematically are always going to go in phases, and is it here to stay? Is it not? I mean, I don't know. There's principles of the wishbone and the option that have been used. Now they look a little bit different to the untrained eye, but a lot of those same principles that were developed when the wishbone offense was developed are still very prevalent in offensive football today. So even though the majority of them come out of spread sets. So do I think they'll ever go away? No. Will there be new trends that'll come up as we go on? I'm sure there will be, and that's what makes the game fun. And I think as a coach, it challenges you to continue to evolve.
Coach Mullen, same question.
No, I agree with Lincoln on that. I mean, if you go back, I mean, I remember about, almost 20 years ago now, we started this, at Bowling Green, we had an offense, we're snapping the quarterback and he's running off tackle power offense, with a guy named Josh Harris. And, and then someone kind of looked and, when traveled on to Utah and had to do it with a tight end, and everyone's like, oh, that's boy, we haven't seen that since the single wing back 70 years ago. I think football's constantly evolving, and I think everybody's looking and saying, okay, how am I taking a concept and continually improving it? And you're evolving to things and always looking for new ideas. And so I don't know that the wishbone's gone. Like I said, Lincoln said, I think you just see it in a very different light maybe than you saw it years ago. But a lot of the philosophies, the principles are still there, and football's just constantly evolving.
All right, we have 9 questions in our queue, and everybody that has their hand raised, we'll get to you. Next question is going to come from Zach Goodall from Sports Illustrated. Zach, go ahead.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
My question is for Dan. I know last week you said you don't want to share the names, you want to let guys announce, but with the news of several guys opting out yesterday, do you have a tally on just how many guys didn't end up making the trip that you expected to?
Well, I mean, we kind of knew who's going to make the trip. Not what we're excited about is really getting to see some of the guys as we have all year. Our guys are excited the opportunity to get out there and go play. So there are guys that have kind of been in and maybe that supporting actor role now that are going into the lead role in the show on tomorrow night. And so I think those guys are excited for that opportunity to get out there and go make plays. I want to say we probably off scholarship number, I think we probably have about 60 scholarship guys playing in the game.
All right, our next question is going to come from Barry Trammell from the Daily Oklahoman. Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, for both you guys, Lincoln, you've had at least one opt out, a couple of guys transfers. Dan, you've had the guys opt out. Is that not an indictment of the bowls? Nobody opted out before your conference championship games, but you've had guys say, I just don't really want to play in the bowl game. It's been such a long history of college football, but it seems to me it's an indictment that this just isn't that important to us.
Coach Riley, will you take that first, and then Coach Mullen?
Yeah, I think it's hard to gauge this year. I think what this year's been like, obviously with everything that's changed with the pandemic, I think is absolutely a factor. So I don't know that that's very easily judged. We've had a couple of our guys that have made the decision to transfer out in the transfer portal, and guys wanting to get to a new home and kind of get that all figured out as a factor as well. So do a couple of guys, or are there going to be a couple players here and there through the years that maybe think the bowl game is not that important? There may be, but we got to be careful to take the 1 or 2% and say, well, that's how everybody feels, because there's a big percentage of both of our football teams that are going to be pretty excited to play this game tomorrow night. So I tend to go with the majority and think these games are still pretty darn important.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty unique year, and I think everybody has to understand that the stress that these guys have been under from week in and week out. This is our third straight New Year's Six bowl game, and in the previous two, we had a grand total of one opt out. Between those two games. I think this year is just such a unique deal, and the stresses and pressures that these guys have been under this year, I think it led everybody to be a little bit different of a mental state of where they're at. You look up the build up to the bowl game. It's cut way down. The opportunity to be here and spend and experience the entire bowl experience has been cut down. So I think this could be just a unique year.
All right, your next question is going to come from Nathan Hale from 24/7 Sports. Nathan, go ahead. I'm sorry, I said Nathan Hale. James Hale, I'm sorry.
Well, Nathan's my brother, so I thought he was on maybe. Lincoln, we've heard a lot about the matchup with Coach Mullen's offense against your defense, but take us to the other side of the ball. Your offense against the Florida defense. What do you see in the Gator defense?
Oh, it's a very talented group. I've got a lot of respect for Todd Grantham and the job he's done throughout the years, and he's got a lot of very talented, outstanding players to work with. A lot of guys that really flash on tape and have the ability and have made a lot of big plays throughout the season. So it's a talented group. You've got to play very well, very sharp football to have the chance to move the ball and score points against them. So what you would expect out of a Florida defense: active, well coached, be a fun matchup.
Now we'll get to Nathan. Our next question has come from Nathan Thompson from Fox 23 Sports. Nathan, go ahead.
All right, thank you. This is for both coaches, but we can start with Coach Riley. When you look back at the season, even before the season, we didn't even know if you were going to have one, and then kind of every game week, not knowing if you're going to get to play for sure, all the difficulties of COVID. When you get to step on the field for the Cotton Bowl, what's it going to mean emotionally to know that you made it through the season and you were able to finish on such a strong note in a bowl game like this?
Oh, a little difficult to say. I think you're kind of just in the moment right now of preparing and trying to play and coach your best. But yeah, it'll be special. I think no matter what happens, rest of my career, I think always we'll look back at this season and be proud of, what this team was able to accomplish, be proud of what college football was able to accomplish. It's you've seen some of the other sports be able to finish seasons successfully, but this one's tougher. We have the worst possible setup to make it during a pandemic, with, and a lot of times community living, just the way our programs are set up, guys still having to go to school. It's it's not the ideal sport to survive during a pandemic, and we found a way to do it. So I'm excited we've been able to have a season. I think it's been a great season. It's been a lot of fun despite the challenges, and certainly has made us more, I think, more appreciative of each and every time we get the chance to step on the field.
Coach Mullen?
I agree with Lincoln on that. I'm just really proud of our guys. Of all the players, of what they've had to deal with to get to this point, it has been extremely difficult year. The emotional tolls that you add onto the physical tolls. I'm just really proud of our guys for them to be able to handle what they've handled, to be able to go out there and play. I know our guys love to play the game of football. They love, what they've had to do, the sacrifices, the toll and the strain that it's taken on them to get to do what they've loved during this pandemic. I'm happy for them, and I'm proud of them for what everybody's been able to accomplish.
All right, we got 5 first-time questions in the queue, so we're going to get to those first before any follow-ups. Our next question is going to come from Pat Welter from Spectrum News 13 Orlando. Pat, go ahead.
Dan, I know you've been busy prepping for the bowl, obviously, but I was wondering if you'd seen the reports about your old colleague, Urban Meyer, maybe being interested in coming to Jacksonville, and what your thoughts just in general are of him coming back into coaching, specifically at the NFL level.
I haven't seen any of that, but I've spoken to Urban, and I don't know. I think he's very happy with where he is in his life with his family and all of that. But I know, knowing him and the competitor that he is, it would never surprise me to see him back on the sidelines, enjoying coaching the game of football. So I haven't seen anything about it, and haven't spoken to him about that. But one of these days you might see him back on the sidelines.
All right, our next question is going to come from Adam Rittenberg from ESPN. Adam, go ahead.
Sorry. The question is for Lincoln. I'm right about the number of quarterbacks from the state of Arizona, obviously with Spencer, and you saw Brock Purdy last week. Both Fiesta Bowl guys are from there, and there's quarterbacks all over the country from that state. I'm just kind of wondering why you think that is, and what you think about that rise in that particular position from a state that doesn't produce a ton of players at this level.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question. I've kind of thought the same thing. Is when you look at the number of overall players that come out, it doesn't totally make sense. But I just think you've seen a run of just some really talented guys. I think there's a lot of really good coaches in that area. I think it maybe part of it is provides a climate where those guys can train year round. And that's probably a small thing, honestly. But the guys that I've seen, had experience with both from the player and coach level have been very impressive. So when you get that matched up and some talented young guys that want to work and a lot of good coaches in the area, then that's going to be the recipe. But I don't know that I have, anything further on it.
Our next question is going to come from Jason Kersey from The Athletic. Jason, go ahead.
Hey, Lincoln, I was just wondering if you could let us know what you ended up deciding to do with Shane Beamer's position for this game, and how that worked in such a short time frame, getting somebody acclimated.
It was not too bad. We've elevated Ryan Doherty, who's been our special teams quality control. We've elevated him to coordinate and to take over Shane's responsibilities, and he's done a great job. We know that didn't have Coach Beamer available for a game earlier this year. Ryan did the same thing and did a tremendous job. So he'll serve in that same role and is very comfortable and very well versed in what we want to do there.
Our next question is a follow-up from Edgar Thompson. Edgar, go ahead.
Yeah, for one, Coach Riley, if you could go back and answer the one about the challenges of college football and NFL interest. And then Dan, Kyle Trask, is he the perfect guy to lead kind of this team tomorrow night, given, his history is kind of similar to maybe what could happen with some young guy tomorrow, come out of nowhere and rise to the occasion? Coach Riley, please.
Every game has its challenges. Every game changes, rules change, guidelines change. You've got to adapt. I know this. We got an unbelievable sport and product in college football, and I love coaching it. That's about all I would say.
Coach Mullen?
On Kyle, I think, he's done an unbelievable job of leading our program since the day he stepped on the field about a year and a half, a little over a year and a half ago. And, I think he's a great role model for all young players, in the game of football, but I think a great role model for people in life about how to prepare, how to work, how to put yourself in a position to be successful. And when your opportunity comes, you're ready for it. And, don't look for the easiest road or the shortest road or the quickest road. The path to success is to sit there and work and put your time in. And prepare. And when your moment's called, you're ready for it. And I think, he's a guy that you look the opportunity for him to come into this game. I know he's excited to get to go play. He's such a competitor, and the opportunity to go play against a great Oklahoma team. I know he is. And so, when you say perfect guy, he's a guy you want leading. Whether you're out there playing Oklahoma in football or, whether you're going into a corporate sales meeting, he's the type of guy you want leading your organization.
We have 3 questions in the queue and about 8 minutes left, so we'll get to those. Our next question is going to come from Garen Emick from the Tulsa World. Go ahead, Garen.
Lincoln, most coaches view good performances and outcomes in bowl games as momentum builders going into an off season and even next year. If you guys play well defensively tomorrow night, is there any part of that would exercise some ghosts of the past 3 years in terms of Oklahoma defense in the postseason? Do you have any interest in doing that?
I hope we play well defensively, but I don't. I just think each year is its own year. I know you guys have heard me say that a lot, but it's every challenge is different. Your team's different, opponents different, situations different. And so we're just going to try to be the very best that we can tomorrow night. Whatever people want to say about a big picture, that'll be their choice. But the only thing that we can control is the way we prepare and the way we perform tomorrow night, and we're going to try to stay locked on that.
Our next question is going to come from Kerry Murdoch with Sooner Scoop. Kerry, go ahead.
Dan, this question's for you. I think everybody saw, the news coming out yesterday about, receivers opting out and wondering, why would a guy like Kyle Trask play in this game with his NFL stock? What does that say about maybe Kyle's, just his competitiveness or his character to play in this game with all that going around him?
Well, I think everything that, has led up to this moment, even his life, shows his character, the type of person he is and why he's the team captain for us. He's a guy that, to get to this point in his career, it's shown what he was as a guy that, battled through, was at a high school, and they had another quarterback, so only got to play part-time at his high school, but that didn't let him deter him. He wasn't looking to immediately get out of the school, go transfer, go somewhere else. He came to a college, got an opportunity to come play at Florida, and was on the bench, and really, didn't get on the field until after he graduated. But took advantage of that opportunity, and now, is a guy to go from a guy that didn't play high school football to a Heisman Trophy finalist. It just shows the character that he has, and you never want to count him out on anything. So, we met, and I know he's excited to go play in the game. He's worked his butt off, and the opportunity to get to go play. I know people look at things and say, okay, hey, we're here at the Cotton Bowl, and this is a big game. You know what? And competitors, they want to play in big games, and I know he's a competitor, and he really is excited to play in this game.
Our next question is follow-up from James Hill. James, go ahead.
Lincoln, all year, you had the opportunity to play young players on the defensive side, especially in the secondary. So you lose your most experienced guy. But those guys have all made a good play. Those guys have all played pretty well. That philosophy that you and Coach Grinch came up with is going to help in a game like this when you take on a powerful offense that Florida has, I would guess. Talk about that decision earlier in the year because it's going to be played big for you in this game.
Yeah, we felt like that we had some guys that were close to being ready, earlier in the year. And, I think just from a development standpoint with as we've all talked about, probably enough, but the spring, summer, camp, losing guys, for extended time to COVID and to contact tracing and all that has stunted some of their growth. And so, especially around midseason, we got to the point where we felt like we had a number of guys that were ready to take snaps and ready to go compete. And so, yeah, I think going into a game like this against such a tremendous offense, to have, more guys available, more guys that have played in big time games and that have, felt the fire a little bit is an advantage. And obviously we're going to need some of those guys to step up with the quality opponent that we have.
Our next question is going to come as a follow-up from Pat Welter. Go ahead, Pat.
Dan, depending on how you look at this season, you guys are just a few mistakes away from potentially being either undefeated or being in the college football playoffs. So I was just curious kind of how you reconcile that. Do you look at that as we are now on the level of those playoff caliber programs, or that, those mistakes tell you that you still have a ways to go?
Well, I think this being our third straight New Year's Six bowl game, I think the program's right there and competing with all the top teams in the country. And you look at that, and as you talk about it, you look at the margin for error to go win championships is extremely small. And as you said, for us, you lost two games on the last play of the game, and then fell 6 points short to Alabama in the championship game. That's always tough, but it's when you're playing in a league, when you're playing the Southeastern Conference, you're playing. The quality of teams you play week in and week out. You look at the margin for error gets extremely small to get there. To go win championships. I've been part of two national championship teams at Florida. You go back and reflect upon those seasons, and the margin for error in those seasons is so small. And you flip 10 plays, and you're not even competing in the championship game. We flip a couple of plays this past season. You could be in the playoffs very easily, and very easily have flipped a couple of plays, would have won the SEC championship. One or two plays here or there. And so I think that's just the focus that you have. That's why we do what we do. That's why you work as hard as you do year round to make sure. If you could tell me tomorrow night what play is going to be the difference in tomorrow night's game, I'll make sure I'm ready for that one play. But since we don't know, it could be one of the, about 180 plays that could be the difference in the game. We got to prepare for each one of those and be prepared for that moment to go make the play. And that's the great challenge that football presents. And it presents it as a team because it's not one individual that's going to do it. It's the entire team that has to be ready for those moments.